Inline six-cylinder versus V6, pros and cons.
Oh, that is a little too
interesting question.
Yeah.
I mean, we could start with packaging. The two motors offer very different packaging constraints. An inline motor is typically going to be narrower and longer. A V6 is going to be much shorter and more compact, but wider. So that's one thing. I think
it's so interesting because the V6, obviously now we have a lot of the hot V configurations, so that completely flipped some of the packaging constraints over, because it was, when you had your turbos hanging out on the outside, the motor gets even wider, so you get another basically foot and a half of width around the motor. You got to comp.
The hot V V6 is very compact.
Yeah,
it's true. I don't know. I mean, there's some theoretical stuff, but in practice it can all be addressed with engineering solutions. A six-cylinder crank is much longer than a V6 crank, which means it could twist and have more harmonics.
Totally different harmonics, yeah.
However, BMW inline sixes are some of the smoothest motors around. So I really don't think at the end of the day you can say one's better or that the pros and cons are that different. It's just a, do you want all your cylinders in a row or do you want them in a V, and how does that affect the packaging?
I think honestly it's mostly packaging, because like you said, everything can be kind of engineered around these days for the compromises on each.
Yeah, I mean, one thing is that the BMW motors, being an inline six, have very highly optimized cylinder heads and ports and valve train configurations. If you look at some of like the greatest, most powerful or efficient racing motors of all times, like motors from Cosworth, and you can see that the air comes into the intake manifold, goes into the port, and it's just a straight shot into the valve. There's no short side radius or bend, and so you don't want your port shaped like this, right? I don't know if you can see that. You want it shaped like this, right? You want it straight. You want the air just to go straight into the combustion chamber. And so with the inline six packaging, results in a lot of room on both sides of the cylinder head for intake and exhaust solutions. And once you start getting into how Audi does V6s and the hot V stuff, things get a little tighter. So I think and based on a 3-liter BMW straight six makes a lot more power than an Audi V6 under kind of similar circumstances. So that's probably the best pro I can think for the inline six, is if it allows a more high performance valve train port configuration, then it's just going to flow more. It's going to be more efficient. There's going to be less restriction getting air in and out of the motor. But there's a lot that affects that.
Yeah,
the cams, the cam timing, the tuning. So again, I mean, this type of question, which kind of you're asking for kind of a black and white response to these physical and engineering dynamics that have a myriad of solutions. So a good example of this is like saying, what's better, a front-engined car or a rear-engined car? And on paper, you would say rear-engine Porsche, terrible idea. It's going to have all the weight in the back. It's just going to want to spin. It's going to be super tail-happy, unstable. There's just no way that's going to be good. However, Porsche 911 is arguably the most winning race car of all time. And Porsche has done an incredible job of engineering around this. And I think Elon Musk famously poo-pooed the 911 chassis configuration. Obviously has no idea what he's talking about, because Porsche, being the engineering company they have for almost 100 years, have been solving that problem very, very well. So you can do all kinds of stuff if you address all the issues. The real problem comes when you implement an idea conceptually and you don't do a good job of addressing the problems. There's a problem with every configuration. And if you don't take the proper engineering process and you don't create the proper engineered solutions, then you can fuck anything up. So
Everything starts out with a whole bag of compromises, and you got to pick which ones you're going to fix.
yeah, it's sort of like this idea. A lot of people obsess about decisions they make. You know, which college should I go to? Who should I marry? What field should I work in? What kind of job do I want? Do I want to live in this state or that state? And they kind of nauseate. And there's this sort of idea that, like, if I make this decision, I'll be happy. If I make that decision, I won't be happy. And one decision is going to be better and benefit me more. And my opinion, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter what kind of job you have. Kind of doesn't matter who you marry. It just matters on how well do you do it. Do you want to live in Alabama or in Oregon? Doesn't matter. Make the best of wherever you live. Do you want to be a doctor or a dentist, or you want to sell insurance? It doesn't matter. Do the best one of whatever you can. And so I think we're still talking about straight six.
I think so. Yeah. I think we're still on
and so it doesn't matter if it's a straight six or a V6. Just do it really well.
Yeah.
Okay.